skin from between bikinis and the giant.
This is so irritating.
From the Evil Dead films, because if you're going to be killing zombies, you may as well be dressed for it.
There's some... Don't hate me!
Those were a video here suggested by YouTube. The best video.
Whoops. Alright, we've been popping for like, what? A minute now, so... So I had this, I had the sermon I wanted to play. Let me just go to my library. Before I mess around and get the wrong one. Let's see. Damn it. Payback some mother cousins gaffling sees Nyo. Shiesty Nyo. And Struggling by Joyce Mayer. We listened to her last week. Before Bubbly Bubbles came in. And yeah, before Bubble Bubbles came in. I've been streaming on YouTube for like 2 or 3 weeks now, just because I can. Not for any specific reason. I just want to see how it goes. But when I do listening parties, I will not be streaming on YouTube because of the obvious reasons. So let's get this popping off.
Hey trainer.
Because you're here for a reason.
Pokemon Go Travel Global Catch Challenge update. Now this shouldn't come as a surprise to most of you who have been out there.
I'm not sure. There are a lot of ad breaks in this video, lady.
When you're struggling, when you're having difficulty, when you're experiencing opposition, when you have a challenge. And I got to thinking about that, and I thought, why do we have such a hard time just saying when you're suffering? And so I did a little word study, and I found out that in the King James translation, the word suffering or suffer is in there 165 times. The Amplified Bible ramps it up a little, it's in there 175 times. I looked at one of the most modern, most popular translations, and it's only in there 59 times. And I thought, well, isn't it interesting? I hope that we don't modernize the truth out of the word and get to the point where people don't really know what to expect and aren't prepared for it. Well, see, I don't apologize for talking about this today, although I did try to get out of it. At one point I was studying this and I thought, oh, do that. Do that.
Round 2.
And,
fight.
So I went back, I've got this old 2 cabinets full of messages that I've taught over the years. Not that I just go and pull out a message, but sometimes it'll spark an idea in me. So I went back to my messages and I looked at everything and I got this one out and that one out. And I can always tell what's right because it clicks or it doesn't. And it's just like, that's not right. I finally just said, you're going to make me go do this. I guess. So I just want you to know, if you don't like this message today, you talk to God about it because He's the one that's making me do it. Suffering means to leave or to permit, to bear with or to stay under. Now, the first thing we want to do when we're suffering is we want to run.
Finish him.
We want to get away from it. Some way, shape, or form. But you know what? You got to go through the hard part to get to the good part. And that's really the main thought that I want to leave you with today. You got to go through the hard part to get to the good part. And that doesn't mean the hard part's always fair. Life is not always fair, but God is fair. God is a God of justice, and that's one of my favorite things about the character of God. And justice means that He always makes wrong things right. God always makes wrong things right if, everybody say if we trust Him,
because I'm listening.
If we handle the wrong thing in the right way. See, so often we don't respond in a godly way when we're going through things like that, and then we just have to keep going
Damn right, big
over
cheese.
and over and over
No
and
Baraka.
over in the hopes that eventually we will get it. You know, I've suffered so much in my soul in the early years in my walk with God, in the early years of this ministry. And I can actually say that I suffered more when I started trying to grow up in God than I did before I cared. Let me know what I mean by that. It's like, I was happy sinning. I mean, I really wasn't happy doing it, but it was like, it's not hard on your flesh to sin. And so, when I really got into a serious walk with God, and back in the 70s, I was filled with the Holy Spirit, and man, I started reading the Word.
Damn it.
You know, when you really study the Word, you start seeing what makes you are. You finally have to stop blaming it on somebody else and take a look at yourself, because the Word of God is like a mirror. And you see Christ in there, and you see how far you have to go. So if we're smart, we really love God, and we want to do this thing right, we'll start praying, God, change me. Well, oh, honey, that's a dangerous thing to pray. Oh, God, change me. And then we have these, oh, break me, God. Break my heart with what breaks your heart. Make me just like you, Jesus. Oh, man, I feel the pain already. And I just feel pain in my soul all the time. Especially like when God would tell me, no, that's really not Dave's fault, it's your fault. Well, I didn't want it to be my fault. I wanted it to be Dave's fault. And I wanted God to deal with Dave. I didn't want him to deal with me all the time.
Finish him!
I remember one time going to Dave and saying, God, deal with you about anything. Because I was going through such a hard time, and I just wanted to know that God was in Dave's face too.
Raiden wins. Fatality.
Dave, has God deal with you about anything? He looked at me and he said, no, I don't think so. Me, am I the only one that's got a problem? And so I went through so much all the time. And you know what? I don't really go through that much anymore. Now, that doesn't mean that my life is perfect or that I don't have problems. If any of you were here from the first service, you heard me read my list of 34 things that happened in 8
I
years.
really like that outfit.
None of which were fun.
The skelly arms are really dope.
Honestly,
Silly, but dope.
Now, I want you to hear what I'm going to say. A lot of our suffering is connected to how we respond. Somebody over here thinks they understand. See, I said that. Somebody.
Oh.
Honestly, how we respond, we can make a bigger deal out of things than what they are. I mean, is it really the end of the world if I don't get my way about something? Do I really have to get mad at Dave for 3 weeks over that and be depressed and feel sorry for myself? But that's what I used to do, and I suffered. When you get a sweet attitude, you put yourself in God's hands, and you start to really trust Him and believe that He's got a good plan for you, a lot of that stuff goes away. The more spiritually mature we become, the more we grow up in God. And it's not easy growing up in God, but the more we grow up in God, the more peaceful our lives become. And so I am just pleading with you today. The Apostle Paul said things to the saints, and he said, I beg you for Christ's sake.
Raiden wins.
And so I'm pleading with you today.
At Sam Adams, we salute those who believe in going for it, failing, improving, who do their thing the same way we do ours. Because life isn't about whether your glass is half full or half empty. It's about...
I'm sure.
Whatever God is trying to do in your life right now, even if you don't understand it, don't run away from it. Trust God. Let Him do what He wants to do in you so you can have the life that He really wants you to have. Amen? Now, I got something really funny to read you.
That's awesome!
From 1989.
Fight!
Lord have mercy.
I cannot connect that.
Now, I'm going to let you into my personal life for a few minutes. We're going to be really close this week. December the 26th, 1989.
Damn
Well,
it.
Christmas is over. God is good. From a spiritual standpoint,
Whoa,
I've been
hello.
having a
What
really
was
nice
that?
time. A lot of things going on for a while that I've just been saying, oh well, I'm going to cast my care, everything's going to be okay. But today, everything just blew up in my face. Dave and I had a discussion that wasn't good. That means we had a
Come on.
fight. He feels I have to have control or I'm not satisfied. I feel he's wrong and being very unfair. We have a very hard time communicating when we differ in our opinions. But this was the last straw, so to speak.
Do not provoke a god.
And everything I've been feeling, but casting my care about, came tumbling in on me, so here it is. I've been having a hard time getting my messages, at least much harder than usual.
Oh,
I've been
yeah, I
having a hard
cannot.
time hearing from God. I've
Dang
been
it.
feeling very little anointing. It seems that the more I've pressed into the Spirit, the more God hides himself and requires me to go strictly on faith alone. Is
Got
anybody
it.
relating to anything I'm saying? Okay. I just
Ow.
had surgery and now I've got one more to go. Our attendance in our meetings has fallen off because we're in the holiday season. I've had a lot of weird feelings. My mind is lazy, I feel bored, and I'm discontented. All of this has sort of come at once. I also feel that I just don't know how to pray. I've really had a hard time praying. Today it all seems to be too
I love
God
that.
help me. I feel
That
like
is
I'm
so
gonna go
cool.
under, but I know I probably
Come on.
won't. Well, I trust that you're doing something, underline something, but I sure don't know what it is. Oh, you just wait.
Do not provoke a god. Raiden
Probably wanting a
wins.
greater degree of abandonment for me, I guess. I'm not sure that I can do it, but I'm willing to let you do it if you want to. Dave always feels I'm at fault, and it's never him. To be honest, this is really hard, underline really hard, on my flesh. But I don't suppose it matters much. It's all pride anyway. Now here comes the really sad part. I'm really sorry to have to report that I've had to tell the Lord tonight that I have gone as far as I can go.
You have no hope, Thunder God. I always have
I
hope.
quit.
That is why you have failed.
That's it.
Round one.
Done.
Fight.
Finished. 2 years ago, I said, God, take me as deep as you want to. I'm willing to do whatever you
Dang
need
it.
me to do. But
I don't know what that
really
is.
do
I ain't gonna stand on it.
For the second time, I said, I'm telling you that I have gone as far as I can go. I don't know for sure if I can get out of this. God may not let me out. But I never really thought I was back down, so on top of everything else now, it seems that I am a spiritual coward. I was in a mess, to say the least. December
Oh, man.
26, 1989. Well, apparently, 9 years later, on December the 20th, 1998, I came across
Do not
this.
provoke a god.
So, 9 years later,
Round two. Fight.
I was reading this old notebook and thought I would give you guys an update. Things have changed drastically. I'm now on 375 television stations, 250 radio stations. Come
Your
on.
resistance puzzles them.
Come on, you gotta make it through the hard part to get to the good part. Our ministry is very successful. I've changed drastically. I enjoy peace almost continually. I've continued all these years to have some health struggles, but in the midst of it all, God has given me grace to do all He's called me to do. It has been hard at times, but I can say from experience that God is faithful. I have 4 grandchildren, which are now 11, and one more on the way. My youngest son has just gotten married. Dave and I love each other very much. We get along really good almost all the time. That's what 9 years will do for you. So I hope that me sharing
I couldn't do it.
personal side of my life,
Probably wasn't far enough away, but whatever.
Raiden
that we
wins.
all feel like giving up sometimes. We all go through times where we feel like God is 1,000,000 miles away. When we don't have any idea what He's doing, when we're tired, when we're weary, when we think we just can't go on. But no matter how many times you threaten to give up, I can already tell you that God's not going to put up with that. Keep coming after you. And he's going to work with you and help you be all that he wants you to be, no matter what. You see, the beginning is exciting, the end is exciting for the few who ever get there, but it's the middle that's hard. So we have to take the time to talk about the middle and all the things that you go through that you don't talk to anybody about, or you feel you can't talk to anybody about, because if you did talk to anybody about it, they probably would judge you. And so we keep our secrets and we hide in these dark places, and we wonder if we're going to survive. But God is always there with us. He sees everything. He knows everything. And God has got an amazingly, unbelievably good plan for your life. And so I just encourage you to make it through the hard part so you can get to the good part. Amen? Now, the number one reason why people who say they don't believe in God don't believe in God is because they can't understand why so much suffering and evil in the world. They say if God is a good God...
Oh.
Growing up, my father was a firefighter. That made me want to do it.
The ad for that was a chick dancing around in her underwear. I just feel like that was the juxtaposition from what I was listening to what I was being shown was outstandingly strange.
Then why do all these bad things happen? Well, let me just throw out for your consideration today that demanding to know why everything happens is probably about the worst thing in the world that any of us can do. God's not going to give you all the answers. He's not going to give me all the answers. There's going to be things that happen that seem so unfair that you just feel like you can't stand it. I can't explain them all to you. Nobody else can explain them all to you. We can't say we didn't have enough faith.
I think it looked cool on him.
Because sometimes it seems to be pretty random concerning what happens to who. We recently had a real tragic flood right in my neighborhood. I was out of town. I mean, it wasn't going to affect our house because we don't live in a low area, but we know people that lost everything. And one of them is a beautiful young girl that works for us. She heads up our medical missions and just has a great heart. Hasn't been married all that long. Has got a child, or does she have two? She has two by now. And so they lost everything. Everything.
Wrong
all
place,
the furniture,
wrong time.
all the house, everything.
I am exactly where
And
I should
you
be.
could probably walk right down the
On your
street and there'd
butts
be
where you
some
gun it.
evil, wicked, miserable person who didn't lose anything. Well, you're not going to figure that out. I mean, saying why is just pretty much useless, and I don't think God wants to hear so many whys. I think he wants to hear, I trust you. I don't understand this. This hurts. I feel like it's going to kill me, but I trust you. And I believe, God, that no matter what happens, you can and will work it out for good if I will keep my eyes on you. Can I tell you that there are a lot of mysteries hidden in God? The Bible talks about the mysteries of God and the mysteries of Christ like numerous times. There's like 9, 10 scriptures that you can pull out about the mysteries of God. And in 1 Corinthians it says we know in part, we prophesy in part, but the day will come when we will know even as we are known. Some of the things we think we want to know, if we knew, we wouldn't even like what we found out. So we need to trust God that if he wants us to know something, we'll know. And if not, it's not our job to figure it out. It's our job to trust him. I'll tell you what, I feel so sorry for people. I mean, genuinely sorry for people who are so mental that they just can't stand to not have all the answers. It is absolute torment.
Do not provoke a god.
To have to spend your life trying to figure everything out. And I know because I was the queen of why, God, why. And I'll tell you what you get from that, confusion. Nothing but confusion. The Bible says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and mind. Lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways, just acknowledge him and he will direct your path. I don't understand why my dad sexually abused me for 15 years.
Impetuous youth.
I don't understand why my mother didn't do something about it, why
Didn't-
she abandoned me to the situation.
Didn't see that
She
coming.
was so cowardly she wouldn't confront my dad. I don't understand why God didn't get me out of it, because I was born again as a 9-year-old child, and I prayed that God would get me out of it. I mean, I prayed things I probably shouldn't have prayed. I prayed that my dad would die. I prayed that my mother would divorce him. I prayed a lot of things. I just wanted to get out of the suffering. But it didn't happen the way that I wanted it to happen. God didn't get me out of it, but He gave me the grace to go through it. And I'll tell you something, I'm like a bulldog. I mean, I am strong. Amen? And so when you're going through hard things, you got two choices. You can give in and give up, or you can get strong. I love what the Bible says, and I think it's in, let's see if I can find this real quick. I think it's Psalm 105:18.
Good stuff.
Where it starts with 17. It's talking about Joseph and the things that he went through and how unfair they were. His feet they hurt with fetters. He was laid in chains of iron, and his soul entered into the iron. Now some of you just like, well, what does that mean? Well, I'll tell you what. When he had those chains on his feet and his arms, and he was suffering all this stuff that was so unfair and so not right, and he was just a young guy with a dream. I mean, he loved God and he had a dream. The next thing he knew, he was in prison for something he didn't do. He was in chains. But it said, and you know, by the way, there's no evidence in the Bible that Joseph ever had a bad attitude. There's no evidence that he ever did anything except trust God. And the interesting thing was that every place the guy went, God gave him favor, and he ended up in charge. I mean, he even ended up in charge of the prison. That's not a bad
You
deal.
overreach in
You know that?
challenging me.
But when it says that his soul entered into the iron, what I think about is that iron, that suffering he was going through, got mixed in with his soul, and it made him so strong inside that he could do everything that God wanted him to do, and it ended up being a great blessing to many, 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 multiplied millions. I can't even imagine what Dave went through trying to stay married to me the first few years we were married. I mean, I know this sounds funny, but honestly, I was a mess. I was really a mess. And you know, a lot of funny stories connected with Dave and I had 5 dates and got married. Well, you know, that's not too bright, but I think we had to do it quick before he found out what I was like.
Round 2.
I mean, there was no time there to waste. And the very night he met me, he said he said to God, that's the girl for me. So, I mean, it was really a divine thing. You know, I mean, really, it truly was. And God had him prepared. He was very spiritually strong, very mature, and he had him prepared to deal with me.
What makes Ferrero Rocher so unique? Discover its secret. Ferrero Rocher was born from a long history of Italian...
This broken-hearted girl who did love God, but had so many wounds in my soul. Well, I know that Dave was not comfortable a lot of those years, that it was hard. Let me tell you something. Sometimes, just like Jesus suffered for us, God will call on you to be uncomfortable or to suffer in your soul in order for somebody else to be brought into the kingdom, to be set free. We're never going to be used by God if we think everything's got to be comfortable for us all the time. Don't run away from things. Only leave when you know God's saying leave. The word suffer means to stay under. Stay under some things that maybe you prefer to get away from. Dave was a strong Christian, and I don't, you know, he didn't have divorcing me in his mind, but I know that it had to be very hard sometimes. But I want you to fast forward now 49 years. We've been married 49 years.
Ratings surprised me.
As you will.
And I want you to see
Then
what
they'll
a
get some of
fine
it.
wife he has now. I mean, just look what he would have missed if he would have given up on me. I told Dave the the other day, because I am so feisty. I told Dave the other day, I said, Dave, if anything ever happened to me, you could never get married again, because if you married anybody normal, you would be bored to death. He said, no, you're right. I don't think anybody could top you, so.
Your pain was predestined.
When we stick with someone or something that we would prefer to run away from, we suffer in our souls. To suffer means to finish your goal even though you experience adversity. You see, I'm big on finishing. It's not hard to start something. Everybody claps and cheers when you start. They think your ideas are great ideas. They don't plan to help you get them finished, but they think they're good ideas. But you're going to have to go through things. I don't care whether you start a business, whether you're raising a child, you want to get married, you want to have a good marriage, you want to get your home paid off, you want to be in ministry, whatever it is, you're going to get some opposition from Satan. A wide door of opportunity opened unto me, Paul said, and with it many adversaries. I think that we have to toughen up a little bit in the church today and not be so quick to run away from things. This is another whole series of messages, but I did a whole series of teachings on running away from stuff. And you know, there are several great stories in the Bible where people ran from things that were hard, and every single time they ran, they ended up in the wilderness, and then eventually God made them go back and face the very thing that they ran from. It happened to Hagar, it happened to Moses. I mean, there's just so many people that the same thing happened to. They ran, they were miserable in the wilderness. God appears sometimes years later. He said to Moses, now go back to Egypt. He said to Hagar, now go back to your mistress and submit to her control. Well, how do you like that? Nobody likes that. I want you to go pop them upside the head, God, not make me go back and just put up with it. Y'all still okay out there?
You're a big guy.
Why didn't God just make a world where there was no evil or suffering? Well, he did.
Not what I was trying to do.
Day one, Garden of Eden.
Gotcha.
Everything was great. It wasn't God that messed it up. Man messed it up. Well, and let's don't get mad at Adam and Eve. We would have done the same thing if we would have been there, and probably quicker than they did. God wanted us to love him. And in order for there to be love, there always has to be free choice. You can't have love without free choice.
Ow!
Don't ever expect anybody to love you that you try to control. Don't ever expect anybody to love you that you try to control. They'll just resent you. Even if you're successful in controlling them, they will resent you. So God gave man free choice. So when he gave us free choice, he knew there was the possibility of evil. That wasn't his will. He said, you got all this, I'm only asking you not to do this one thing. Loads of freedom. There's only one thing that God doesn't want you to do. Because if you do that, it's not going to be good for you. Well,
fatality.
They did it anyway.
That's 30 minutes strong.
And you know the story.
Well, about.
It's not God's fault that there's wickedness and evil in the world. It's not his fault. Don't blame your problems on God. Now, half of the scriptures about suffering, half of them, which this is really good news, are all about God delivering us from
If it's
suffering.
venomous, then.
Woo! See? Look how excited you got. I didn't get any woo when I said there's 175 scriptures about suffering.
Protection breeds weakness.
But when I said half of them are about God delivering you from suffering, woo, yeah, amen. However, not one of those says when. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but God delivers them out of them all.
Shut up.
When? Be not weary in well doing, for in due season you shall reap, if you faint not.
Activate my
When?
yahoo.
Oh man, she just giving me the business.
So why is it that sometimes we get ourselves in a mess? Because all suffering is caused by sin. It's either our sin,
Round 2.
it's somebody else's sin. In my instance, it was my father's sin that caused my suffering. It was my mother's sin that caused my suffering. A great deal of our suffering comes from things that other people do. We'd like to think they're all unbelievers, but that's not even true. A lot of them are Christians.
At Sam Adams, we salute those who believe in going for it, failing, improving, who do their thing the same way.
Goodness gracious.
Christians, and that really stinks. Amen. And then there's just the sin principle at work in the world. And so there's just evil in the world. And you know, I've been thinking about this. How many of you can tell that wickedness and evil just seems worse than ever in the
Still
world?
getting it.
I mean, it's hard for me to even believe in the number of years that I've been alive how it is multiplying. But here's kind of what I've been thinking lately. I think the more time that goes by, the more wickedness and evil, the devil being behind
Final round.
to work, and it just keeps multiplying and multiplying. And I believe, this is my opinion, I'm not starting a new doctrine, I believe that even a lot of the weird weather and the floods and the storms, I think a lot of it is the earth just groaning under the weight of sin. The Bible says that even the earth is waiting for the redemption of the Son. We are the light of the world. And all God wants us to do is get out there in our little corner of it and shine. Amen? And part of that shining is not complaining. We learned that in the first service. Part of that is letting people know, and I'm not saying preach them a sermon. Yeah, I'm going through a really hard time right now. I don't understand why this happened. I don't understand why this happened, but I trust God. Let people know you trust God. God is good, and I trust God. I believe that He'll work this out for my good. Let me tell you something. If we will get out in the world and start acting like Christians instead of acting like all the people that aren't Christians, they've got to be able to tell the difference between us and them. We've got to show them something that they want.
We have little hope of victory. Arrogant
We're not going to impress anybody if we never have any problems. Jesus said, in the world, guess what? You will have tribulation. Cheer up. I have overcome the world.
Tried to block him.
We've already read the end of the book.
Ugh, ouch.
We know what's going to happen. Here's an interesting thought. You know, you don't have to win every single battle to win the war.
Ouch.
We've already won the war.
Well, you are.
I don't win every single battle that I have, but even that I trust to God. And I know that He'll mix it all together and work it all together, and it's all going to work out good in the end. You know what? What I went through as a child was absolutely terrible. Terrible. Horrible. Every once in a while, my mind will drift back to some of the things that my dad did to me, and I just think, ugh.
Do not provoke us.
I remember how I hated him.
Round 2.
Just,
Fight.
oh, how I hated him. And God gave me the grace to take care of him the last 10 years that he was alive, and to lead him to Christ, and to baptize him. Don't let the devil win. What kinds of things do Christians suffer? Well, first of all, the Bible says that we will be persecuted for being Christians. That means people are going to come against you. They're going to oppose you. We tried to look up some definitions during the break for the word persecution, and one of them said to be exterminated.
Do not provoke
And I thought that was
us.
interesting. You know, like
Don't provoke the gods, baby.
exterminator to get rid of the bugs. Well, you know, Satan would love to exterminate us. And he uses persecution hoping to do it. Mark 4:17 says, and there are Christians who have no real root in themselves, so they endure for a little while. Then when trouble or persecution arises on account of the word, they immediately are offended, become displeased, indignant, resentful, and they stumble and they fall away. These are the Christians who never grow up. They never get any iron in their soul. All they have is bitterness and resentment. They're offended. They don't understand. Why am I going through this? It's not fair. It's not right.
Hey, stop! You don't you try to hit me.
2 Timothy 3:12. I love this one. Indeed.
Hold on, y'all. What's up? Yeah. You know what? The thing is, a few months ago, I had this moment on Facebook where I legit was like, I wasn't I wasn't sure how serious I was about it, but I was like, oh crap. I was looking at like the way I was just kind of like, it was during the wake of the whole I can't monetize videos because I don't have 10,000 views yet. Got me. So I had like this rant on Facebook where I was like, I'm gonna start doing this, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and all kind of crazy stuff. And so I flat out started saying, like, every Sunday I was gonna stop streaming with creepypastas. Alright, he's determined to hit me with the chainsaw. I was gonna start listening to creepypastas, and I was gonna start listening to like religious sermons and stuff every Sunday. I don't know, shoot, I'm about to, you know what? That's it, I'm done.
Finish him.
Fatality me, so I can see. I lost.
Leatherface wins.
Like I walked in to the scene, you know, with my ball and my jacket on and all that, ready to say some obscenities, and then I was like, wait, that's an actual church center.
Yes. Like this has been a thing for like several months now. Oh, I only had to do how many did I get through? I got 13 wins. I only needed 2 more. Oh my gosh, Jamal, I'm gonna say that you screwed the pooch on this one. You caused me to lose. You did, because I was doing fine until you called me, and then stuff. Let's see, you got 9 fatalities and 3 brutalities. So what was that? 12 of the 13 matches I won, I did a fatality. My total was 1 million and some change. I did okay. You left before I pulled off that combo you showed me with Raiden with the EX.
I thought you pulled it off. That's why I called.
Oh, okay. with the EX electrocution grab, yeah.
This sermon was like, oh man, like
it's real. Yeah, it's about it's a sermon on struggling, like about why things might not necessarily go the way you want them to, and things in life, and it, you know, learn not to question stuff and things and buts. And I've been doing this for a minute. I legit been doing this for a minute now.
I went to your stream last week. It wasn't there. I guess I was there early and I didn't see it.
No, see, last week it was there, but what happened was Bubbles came in because I was playing a game that had a what's this? I was hold on.
Hold on. I was prepared for it.
You just happened to miss it. Put it this way. You just happened to miss it.
Hey man, but you know what you doing? Get up, man.
Who we talking to? Who that? Who that?
Stay strong, my brother.
Stay strong, my brother.
I feel like I had the wrong kind of reaction to that. Like I walked there, I was like, wait,
It's like, oh, this is real. Oh my goodness, this is real. My fault. I was like,
I sat there and listened for a minute, and I was like, man, I feel so weird watching him play Mortal Kombat.
well,
I feel so weird about this.
Dang, can I really not hit that? Okay.
Let me go back.
All right. Make me a sandwich. Make like a really give a customer extra meat for me. Just give like one customer like an extra slice of meat or an extra meatball or an extra squirt of mayo. Do it on behalf of me because I'm over here. I ran the endless tower for 30 minutes. Yeah, I know it's not that great, but I don't play Mortal Kombat, so that was pretty good for me. So give me mine. All right, man. I'll talk to you later. Bloop. There's Jamal. Carolyn. He's a weirdo. Mostly because he's a weirdo. Alright. Let's get back to this.
Delight in piety and are determined to live a devoted and a godly life in Christ Jesus will meet with persecution, will be made to suffer because of their religious stand. But let me tell you something. You can get out in the world and be a carnal Christian, and you won't get much opposition. In other words, you can behave like everybody else, go to church on Sunday, get out, behave like everybody else, go to church on Sunday, and you're not going to get a lot of opposition. But when you start taking a stand, when you start living a godly life, people are going to get convicted by your life, and they're not going to like it, so they're going to come against you. When God called me to teach the Word, I was in a religious denomination that did not believe that a woman could do this. And I didn't know that. I was kind of already doing it when they told me I couldn't. And,
oh, cool.
I got asked to leave my church. I got what's called the left foot of fellowship. And, our whole life revolved around that church. I don't even know how to begin to tell you how hard that was for me. The pain that I had in my soul. Because I just felt like I was just trying to do the right thing and obey God. Now all of a sudden I've lost almost all my friends. Family members turned. I mean, everybody thought that I had gone stark, raving mad. But you know what? I believe that sometimes God will use one person to blaze a trail for other people that are going to come behind. I think of the few women who ever really did anything great, Amy Semple McPherson, Catherine Kuhlman. When I started doing what I'm doing, there were a handful of women, but there was nothing compared to the army of women that God is using today. And so what if God causes you to be a trailblazer? You know, the first one who does anything, you can bet you're going to get opposition. Even people who created antibiotics, they got all kinds of opposition. The light bulb, anytime you try to do anything good, even stuff that's going to help people, the devil has a fit. You know why? Here's why. He despises progress. Any kind of progress. You join a weekly Bible study.
Oh, is that because I picked a different thing?
Something will come along. I remember when I first started dedicating myself to spending time with God every morning. I had kids by then that were a teenager. And every morning I would go up to my room and didn't cook breakfast. I went to my room. I studied. I prayed. I sought God. And I remember one of my kids complaining about mine. Can't you come out of that room once in a while? Can you come down here and make some breakfast? I said, listen, you better thank God I'm in this room. Your life is going to be a lot better if Mama goes to her room.
That one's hard to remember.
It's going to be a lot better if I go to my room. You better say, Mom, stay in your room. I said, you are 15 years old. You can put cereal in a bowl and pour milk on it. You don't need me down there to wait on you. And you think the devil didn't yell in my ear? Oh, what kind of a mother are you? You know, you travel, you this, you that, you something else. You're not a normal woman. Well, I heard that, so I was just fed up with it. Well, you know what? I was not a normal mother, but I was a good mother. And I'm not a normal wife, but I'm a good wife. Come on, you got to get some iron in your soul. You got to fight back a little bit. When I first started going to the gym and working out, for 7 years, I went to the gym 3 times a week, 10 o'clock every morning. I mean, it was a huge commitment, but I knew that God had told me I had to do that if I wanted to be strong for the last third of my journey. So I was really doing it in obedience to God. Well, now I've been at it for 11 years, and I have a trainer that comes to my house now, and it's easier, but I remember my son, who is the CEO of all our media, and he's over all the stateside stuff. Our other son's over all the foreign stuff, and he wanted me to do something one day, and it was my morning to work out, and I said, no, I can't do that. He said, for crying out loud, is everybody going to have to work their whole life around your workout schedule? I said, yeah, you know what? If you don't get determined about what you're going to do, somebody will take it away from you. Why can't we do what we want to do sometimes? We don't always have to do what everybody else wants us to do. Why do I have to change my appointment for you? You changed your appointment for me. Mark 10, 29, and 30. Oh, this is so good. Jesus said, truly, I tell you, there's no one who has given up and left houses or brothers or sisters or mother or father or children or lands for my sake and for the gospel's, who will not receive 100 times as much now in this lifetime. Hang on before you clap. Houses and brothers and sisters and mothers and children and lands with persecution. Whoops. Oh yeah, whatever you give
What
up,
do I do? What can I do that?
God's gonna blast your socks off.
There it is.
It's gonna come with persecution. You say, well, what's that? Let me tell you something. When you're successful and you're blessed, people that you would love to be excited for you are gonna be jealous. It's hard when God does something to bless you and you'd love to be able to share it with somebody and you can't even find anybody that's going to be happy for you and not be jealous. And you know what I tell people? Don't ever want what somebody else has got if you don't want to do what they did to get it. Amen?
Remember me? If you don't, hi, I'm Ariel from the Astral Projection Theory a few weeks ago. And thanks to your positive feedback, it looks like I'll be joining the race of conspirators here on Cartoon Conspiracy.
Alright, stop. So, that's it. That was the end of that. We only got 10 minutes left. But I'm going to keep playing, so let's go. Darkly!
People are, I'm sorry, but they are spiteful and vindictive and petty, and they will do things just to make other people mad. And video game developers, golden angels up on high, but no, my friend, they're just as petty as we are. And here are 5 acts of petty spite going on behind video games. Number 1, an NBA Jam programmer rigged the game against the Bulls. Michael Jordan, you know, the guy, the sports guy, he was pretty famous in his day. You might say that he was the biggest in his basketball industry. His scoring was unrivaled, his intensity unmatched, and he helped lead the Chicago Bulls to the NBA championships 6 times in the 1990s. 6! I haven't done anything 6 times. What am I doing here?
I don't know if I can.
Anyway, let's talk about video games more. It's possible he could have done even more had he not taken a break to play baseball for real and played basketball against the Monstars for fakery. But Jordan's era of basketball dominance wasn't without flaw. In the late 80s, the Detroit Pistons steamrolled the Bulls in the playoffs to take home 2 titles. They did this by running the Jordan rules, playing extra hard and hitting the guy as much as they could without getting suspended. Age and injury derailed the Pistons' winning streak and let the Bulls rise up, but the stage was set for some serious video game drama. A few years into the year of our Lord Jordan, the NBA Jam series were starting to light up arcades with intense but cartoonish action. Jordan doesn't actually appear in the game due to some licensing hangups, but the Bulls and Pistons were both there. And by 1993, the Pistons' victories were a memory for most people, but not for Michigan native developer Mike Turmel. So quietly, Turmel turns the tides for the digital version of the Pistons by decreasing the likelihood that the Bulls would score against his own team. The Pistons-Bulls rivalry is just like a distant footnote in actual basketball history. It's one developer that'll live on forever in NBA Jam. Number 2, Call of Duty was partly created to get revenge on EA. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is over 10 years old now. Yeah, you might have been tricked by the modern part, but this game came out a literal decade ago. The series is finally in World War II setting.
Okay.
Probably plenty of players don't remember a time when it was set in any other than the present. Back in the day, it seemed like every single first-person shooter was another Normandy beach storming World War II shooter. And the one to kick off the trend was Medal of Honor, which was created in part by director Steven Spielberg during his Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers era. 2002's Medal of Honor Allied Assault was a huge success for the series, met with industry-wide praise. It did so well, in fact, that Electronic Arts wanted to absorb the independent developer. 2015, according to developer Vince Zampella, this aggressive strategy burned the goodwill of tons of employees at 2015, and some banded together to lead and form a completely new company called Infinity War. And so, in 2003, Call of Duty was born and would pursue the Medal of Honor's watch for years to come. Zampella is now the CEO of Respawn, the developer of the Titanfall series. Maybe you heard of it? And in the lead up to Titanfall 2's release, Zampella told IGN that the original Call of Duty was a little bit of a you to EA over its strong. Call of Duty might not have been entirely made out of spite, but still, telling the publisher to take a hike and then releasing a franchise-killing competitor, pretty awesome. Number 3, Billy Joel got into video games to stick it to a TV review. Only a few short years after the World War II games Goldberg, the new moneymaker in the video game industry, plastic instruments slapping the word hero on it, playing 3 buttons roughly in time with pre-recorded music. Pretty cool, huh? Fun at parties. But as wildly pervasive as Guitar Hero and GarageBand games were, licensing the music was occasionally a pain, to the point where master of fake authenticity Kid Rock would bemoan how inauthentic it is to press colored buttons to his so-called music. But in 2010 there was a throwaway joke in an episode of The Office, referencing playing Billy Joel songs in Rock Band.
We can watch a movie and play Rock Band.
Billy Joel.
When in fact, at that point, none of the Piano Man's music had been licensed to appear in the popular party game. So that week's Entertainment Weekly recap made mention of the joke, primarily to shit on the idea of Billy Joel being popular enough to appear in Rock Band. Billy Joel, however, read this recap and had his own joke to play. That's what I call a Billy Joel joke. He probably doesn't call it that.
Man, that beard is growing, dude. I'm gonna call you Dorkly because I don't know your name. That beard is growing, Dorkly.
In touch with harmonics, and a short time later, his music was playable in rock. As the saying goes, you come at the Joel, you best not miss. Do people say that?
They do now. You said it.
I don't think they did. Number 4. One of the worst games of all time was a product of Warner Brothers sabotage. Superman 64 is infamously bad, and for as atrocious as it might be to look at it or play it, the story behind it...
I'm getting something to drink. Leave me alone.
According to Titus Software founder Eric Kane, the game was hampered at every step by actively resisting DC Comics licensing teams, who wanted the game to be terrible. I mean, the game would have been really good, says Eric. It totally would have been awesome. Likely story, but still, here's what happened. As the story goes, the devs signed the deal to make the game with one team and were almost immediately sent off to a different group of DC execs.
He had it, therefore he used it.
The original game concept would have featured an open world where players could fly around the city as they wished. But the game was repeatedly bogged down with unreasonable requests that fundamentally broke development, including a request to turn the game into a Sim City without taking care of Metropolis. I concluded that the licensing contract was going to be Titus Software, Warner Brothers, but they were like Yay. The destructive thing here wasn't kryptonite, but full hard cash. And it wasn't something they wanted, instead of having... I'm getting things that aren't very good. The point is, they deliberately made it happen. The game prominently features flying through rings as a main mode of gameplay. And apparently this was an executive order from on high, since PC didn't feel Superman should spend most of his time fighting enemies. I feel bad for the team at Titus, but at the same time, the result of the game is so miraculously unparalleled in its badness that it kind of outweighs. Number 5. Mortal Kombat Nox would be censored with the Mortal Kombat's draw has always been, yes, say it with me, the fatalities. The goofy yet savage violence really set the games apart from the back in the early 90s, even if it wasn't just a goofy gimmick. But looking at how gruesome and brutal the fatalities are in current games, it's hard to imagine anyone was ever mad at a tiny bit of sprite-based fighting. But in the 90s, Mortal Kombat was a lightning rod of controversy, even leading to the creation of the ASRB. Did you know that? Senator Joe Lieberman thought the games represented a greater society. So the industry started self-regulating so that the government wouldn't censor them itself. Was this an overreaction? Yes. Was it hilarious in retrospect? Super yes. And developer Midway thought so too. When Mortal Kombat 2 launched in 1993, the game included a slew of new finishers to respond to the controversy. But instead of slicing your opponent in half or pulling their sword out of their butts, there were Babe Battlers to literally transform your opponents into flying infants, and friendships, where the characters would offer up a completely innocent gesture to their enemies. And just like that, violent videos buckets of blood out of your opponent's face. And Senator Joe Lieberman's heart. Okay, maybe not. But it's
you earned it. Okay, I don't know why it's in.
Teams keeps this very dynamic. We're able to react very quickly to any client request.
In an industry increasingly focused on sales and attracting wider demographics with every new release, it's only natural to provide more instances of hand-holding, checkpoints, and death mechanics that essentially mean nothing more than using your rings and Sonic. A temporarily annoying setback that doesn't really impede the It's all well and good when done fairly, but the rub, as sometimes these instances can totally make a game worth recommending, provoking many discussions around the idea of what it was like surviving something like Dark Souls' own-speed small boss fight or Super Meat Boy's dark levels. The flip side being those other times when you know with every fibre of your being that you're never ever voluntarily doing a certain setting ever again. These are the levels that kill their game's replayability, the ones that come back into view whenever you're thinking about giving something another shot, and although there are certain candidates that pop up time and again, your water temples, your Battletoads speeder bikes, or the introductory license test from Driver, this time it's worth presenting a selection of controller snappers that are yet to get so torn apart on such a massive scale. Well, it's about time they were. I'm Scott from MockCulture.com, and these are 8 infuriating video game levels you forgot you hated. Number 8, Blood Trails in Max Payne. 2 incredible installments and 1 weirder one thanks to Rockstar taking over the reins. Max Payne's first game was an explosive debut on new hardware.
That's really hard to do.
By bullet time, as Remedy wrote a fantastically quotable story that ticked every box imaginable for a grizzled film noir cop getting his revenge. Something that completely derailed the experience, however, with a level set inside Max's mind, seeing him haunted by the death of a child. Although the way this played out in game was to have you literally running in the pitch black as you followed a tiny blood trail across the floor. Stepping just one way or the other meant instant death and a quick restart, and these levels went on and on and on, all the while Max's screaming baby gnawed away at your sanity levels. Maybe the point was to reduce you to some flickering edge of reality mess like Max, but it's more likely that this was just a bad idea executed on even worse. Number 7, the first race in Jak 3. Easily one of the greatest video game trilogies of all time, it doesn't get away from the fact that Jak 3 had some levels that were real stinkers, especially coming from the exemplary Jak 2 Renegade. Chances are you'd heard quite a bit about how the racing in Jak 3 was going to be this revolutionary new way to get around. Even the hulking great cars themselves looked extremely inviting. Except when it came time for Jak to prove himself and actually win the first race of the game, some floaty sporadic physics and a tendency to spin you out at the last minute made for one whopper of a momentum kill. This first race then leads to a tiresome collection quest that sees you attempting to dart across the sand dunes as once again the physics model batters you more than the endgame weather events. When you throw in enemy raiders that sideswipe you at every opportunity, it means you're just as likely to let time expire whilst marooned on a particularly angular pebble than finish on time. In short, it wasn't the best way to start the otherwise fantastic final chapter, and there's a very good reason hardly anybody was appropriately psyched for Jack X Combat Racing. Number 6, The Driver. When you look back over Rockstar's work on Grand Theft Auto over the years, it's increasingly evident just how incredible their programming team became, stretching the same game engine that produced GTA 3's Liberty City all the way to Miami and especially San Andreas. However, in doing so, they repeatedly asked many things of a physics engine and it just wasn't, well, doable. Because honestly, how many of you actually go back and replay the main campaign missions for any GTA? Chances are it's precisely because they're so haphazard in their difficulty and feel that once they're completed, well, that's it for life. So flashback to 2002, and Vice City's neon-drenched landscape drew everyone in pretty damn well, only for this horrifically programmed mission to Driver to make you long for a nearby punching bag. See, you were racing against this guy called Hillary, whose car was literally programmed to be bolted to the road, making your vehicle spin out horribly if you ever got next to it. Even if you did manage to get in front and were slowing down on the corner, for example, he'd literally just barrel on through like you weren't even there, sending you careening off into a nearby shop window and forcing a restart no matter how close to the end you might have been. It was agony. Number 5, Rainbow Road and Mario Kart. Forever the bane of any Mario Kart players exist, end up flinging you off the edge for all sorts of reasons instead.
Because you're a bad driver, that's the reason.
It looks like the snapshot of a piece of candy lost in some garbage is one thing, but when you can barely see where you're going, it's another entirely. Then factor in all the car-toppling power-ups that come with any Mario Kart race, and you've got a recipe for pure white-knuckle rage. There's a good reason everyone always groans when this pops up in any random track selector, and when Mario Kart 9 releases in whatever future year it lands, Nintendo really need to give this one the boot once and for all. Number 4, climbing the spiked column in God of War. At one time, the new mascot of Sony Hardware, now a parody of himself, who surely has a hidden bum tattoo that reads square, square, triangle, Kratos' adventures were one that danced a fine line between enjoyable spectacle and worthwhile technique. For the most part, the levels unravelled pretty well with a raucous pace that kept things interesting, with one not-so-fun roadblock where you had to attempt to climb up hell itself by way of navigating up some spinning spiked columns, the touching of which would send you back to the bottom immediately, was a marked negative. Not only was the camera way too close to see what was above you, but once you got past one section, the pillars would reverse, changing the direction and hampering your momentum straight away. You have to imagine with creative overseer David Jaffe's previous work on Twisted Metal, maybe he just wanted to create something that would annoy gamers and go down in history as one of those levels. But man, did it have to be so downright unforgiving?
It wasn't that bad, because there were...
strategy level in Brutal Legend. Never has there been...
Hold on. Whoa. The spike column in God of War is not nearly as bad, one, as the final boss is fighting Hades. That's a bitch and a quarter, in my opinion, compared to the spike column. And to be fair, they give you a trophy just for making it to the top of the spike column. Either that or I managed to just trick the game into thinking I did the requirements, because you have to get up there without getting hit. That part isn't that hard, as long as you remember that you can jump up while you're climbing. The part of the game where you have to protect your family is harder than that. The fucking box on the spiked floor puzzle is harder than that. It's not that hard. The spiked tower is not that bad. Hell, the challenges of Hades are worse than the spiked tower. I'd say flat out, actually, if there was anything in God of War 1 that would make you not want to play it again, it's probably the spiked floor box puzzle, only because it's just really difficult to pull off. It's a matter of timing, and it's a matter of timing and a matter of control. Getting it right from the very start, getting off at the very right, getting onto the box and getting off of the box at the last possible second, so that you can make sure that you're as close to the wall as you need to be to get up there. And the real-time strategy levels in Brutal Legend aren't the hardest part. That game's not hard in the slightest. That game is actually pretty fucking easy and actually very fun. If you get a chance to play it. It's really, 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 really fun. The only part of that game that was actually a pain in the ass was honestly the collectibles and the trophies. Getting one of them damn what is it? The little hogs that were motorcycles, the metal hogs or whatever. Getting one of those and riding it non-stop all the way to the Forgotten Bog and jumping off just before you land, before you get into the bog. That's the hardest part. That's probably the hardest part of the game. The real-time strategy stuff does not make that game unplayable or like a slog to remember. It's honestly not bad. And I don't even like real-time strategy games. I don't. I am not a fan of real-time strategy games. So, what even? What even?
Game with such a perfect idea shown in a string of pre-release trailers that then got completely missed out on capitalizing on once it came to release. If you've got Jack Black, the license to use any heavy metal song from across the 80s and 90s, Ozzy Osbourne, Rob Halford and Lemmy as characters who pop up regularly, how in the blue hell do you then move away from the hack and slash approach that fans couldn't shut up about into some real-time strategy played out on the field with a variety of button shortcuts? That's sadly the route the Brutal Legend took, and in doing so, royally peed away the semblance of fun alongside, as suddenly you just couldn't enjoy the combat visual aesthetic or the music. Instead, you were too busy running to and fro like a headless chicken, guarding embattlements from always impending destruction, forever fighting off waves of troops by yourself that you'd otherwise be managing with a variety of stat boosters and cool. Brutal Legend remains an immortally cool idea on paper, but its execution was one of the most deflating and unnecessarily difficult experiences going, especially past the halfway mark when the focus became almost entirely on the areas of the game that felt the least satisfying. Number 2, Tilling the Resistance in Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. Now, Hideo Kojima's increasingly ridiculous baby reached a zenith of cutscene gameplay ratio back in 2008, but one time you were allowed to take control of Snake just made for an experience that didn't fit with the... Tailing missions are just something that is never done well, as Assassin's Creed is more than proven over its many installments. And as for Metal Gear Solid 4's third act, you were asked to keep tabs on a moving resistance agent in amongst a sepia-toned city full of guards and enemy forces. Naturally, what makes it annoying is the same thing that ruins every single one of these types of missions. You'll constantly stop starting momentum to take cover, waiting for enemy AI to decide when they want to move forward again, all the while trying to take care of enemies that might impede your target's progress. With naff checkpointing and straight up bad gameplay, coming from 2 open-ended levels that set a superb precedent in a series with a very solid track record, this is easily one of the worst levels in the entire franchise. Number 1, Supply Lines, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Do you think this was supposed to be fun? Seriously, the creators of Grand Theft Auto sat down, iterating on both GTA 3 and Vice City, brainstorming any number of revolutionary ideas, and they decided to keep this in? Asking you to get behind the controls of a tiny machine gun-equipped toy plane, Supply Line sees you swooping in and gliding around the city to destroy 4 enemy vehicles, all whilst they return fire and the plane itself controls about as well as a pile of ham. Not only that, but you're on a timer with limited fuel, so say you get through the whole thing, chances are you'll botch nailing the last act of landing where you started, killing yourself and starting all over again. The end result was scores of players either blowing up their plane when they didn't mean to, fumbling lining up the different weapons, or just simply running out of gas. Every way you look at it, this was incredibly out of place, and regardless, San Andreas already had that feeling of being the craziest entry in the series. There's no way to look at it as anything other than everything wrong with GTA's earlier, more experimental missions. And that's our list, so let me know in the comments which other sickeningly infuriated levels come screaming back into view once you start reminiscing on all that time spent, and don't forget...
Shut up. Ugh. I guess you had burnt. Okay. Oops, sorry. Gonna go try a quick match as Liu Kang and see how well that works out. Fine.
This is One Blade. One blade for beards and stubble. It trims. It styles. It shaves any length, even against the grain. Philips Norelco One Blade. Be your best you. Be part of it.
I don't know what I did to unlock any of that. Like, I really, really don't know what I did to unlock any of that.
Lately, I haven't been sleeping much. There's a lot on my mind, and and I've always been prone to insomnia anyway. The last few days, it's been bad enough that I'm lucky I get 2, maybe 3 hours tops.
Okay.
Last night was my Friday. And I planned on staying up, but I hadn't planned on pulling an all-nighter. So I'm working on a personal writing project, though. I lost track of time, took a break around 3 in the morning. Got up to stretch and eat and shit. Passed my living room on the way to the kitchen. Like a lot of people, I leave my television on all the time on a low volume because I like having the background noise. Silence can be just as toxic as cacophony. I live in a very small town. The local news still has the traditional sign-off, and the program ends for the night. An American flag waves while the anthem plays. And a message bids the viewer a good night. After that, it's just a test pattern until 6, when the early guys come on. When I passed by, the anthem was just coming to an end. I made a sandwich on the way back to the bedroom and stopped to change the channel to something else. But the station wasn't playing its usual test pattern. And I sat down to see what was going on. Around here, the Forest Service holds out emergency broadcasts when somebody goes missing or there's an issue in the park, because our town is basically bordered on 3 sides by very dense woodland. Anything that happens in the park affects us almost immediately, and alerts aren't that uncommon. I wondered if someone had an issue in one of those campgrounds, and I figured I might as well see what was going on before going back to work. I mean, if it was a major issue, they were going to call me in anyway. Might as well beat them to the punch. I ate my sandwich, I muted the TV, so I wouldn't have to listen to the tone. Whoever was running the alert wasn't using a candid message.
Keep
so
away,
the standard
loathsome
alert
beast.
was still flashing.
You will remember your
I found it
love
odd
for
they'd
me.
be running it so early. Generally, if a major issue comes on in the small hours, the tornado sirens are turned on, the cops will go door to door. It's a very small town, so that's not an impossible task. The only times in my memory that we had to do this were when the tornado touched down outside of town limit, and last year when a wildfire topped the state border and was coming right at us faster than anticipated. But I've never seen an alert run after about 10 minutes. So it was strange to see an emergency alert now without the sirens running in tandem. The standard screen flickered a few seconds, which usually signaled the end of the tone and beginning the actual message. So I unmuted the TV. I caught the tail end of the tone before it switched to the interval pause, whatever the flat tone is. A message appeared very briefly, so I didn't have time to see it. And you can't, of course, rewind emergency broadcasts. A second message popped up.
Please be advised.
I laughed and started to pull my phone out of my pocket for a screenshot. See, I know the people in charge of the broadcast system, and they get hella about typos, higher-ups. But before I could take a picture of the message, it disappeared and was replaced with a real-time one. Whoever was writing it was typing fast and accurately. And this is around when I started to get a bit uneasy.
Please do not contact emergency services or family members. We are aware of the situation.
Think again.
The message disappeared and there was a brief pause. I sent a text to a buddy of mine who also tends to stay up late, and I told him to turn on the news. A new message pre-typed appeared.
Please ensure that all children are present when making a report. All reports are subject to...
The message cut off. Nothing from my buddy. I started scanning the news on my phone for any breaking stories, but I didn't see anything. The weather was calm. And quiet.
They can move.
My phone buzzed and I pulled up the message. My buddy was watching. He was just as perplexed, so I called him. We talked while we watched the alert.
Call the police.
Kill her!
You see this?
My friend said,
The fuck did they do it?
he's doing it too.
It's not a drill.
Wins.
Does it say if it's just a test?
We were both quiet while we read the messages.
Make them run. If they can't go back inside and call 911, don't let your kids see themselves. We don't know what happens.
There's no way. This is a joke. Dude, someone's gotta get fired.
Please close your mouth.
I couldn't tell if he was trying to make me laugh or himself.
At the tree level, they get stuck, and they run in place. So they run into something else. Please don't be afraid. They aren't your children. Your children are asleep.
Both of us were quiet.
Please avoid going between levels of your house. Stay where you are. Your children are not outside. They're upstairs in bed.
I'll go upstairs, I guess. And we both started laughing for some reason. We didn't stop until the next message popped up.
Stay where you are. Your children are sleeping. They are asleep. Don't move. Just stay where you are. Please stop calling. Don't look outside.
Overestimate your skill.
It's not that.
Fight.
Read the prompts and follow. We don't know what they are. Stop calling. Weapons are ineffective. They can't leave the trees. Stay where you are. They are not your children.
Suddenly the broadcast ended, and the test pattern came on. My friend and I waited for a bit and then hung up. I turned the TV to another channel and got up to look out the window. My property includes several acres of heavily wooded land, and I looked out the backyard, but the tree line is clearest. At the edge of the trees, I saw what I think was a small boy. He was running in place, in a very slow, almost robotic way. I couldn't make out any details, but he seemed familiar. He continued to run in place, his legs moving in big, exaggerated arcs, his arms pumping. I looked down for a second to unlock the door when I looked up. He was gone.
Liu Kang wins.
As if he'd never been there.
Fatality.
I closed the door and locked
That's
it
gross.
and moved to the bedroom. I made sure all the blinds were closed, but I didn't get much work done. I don't work for the next 2 days, but this morning I texted my buddy to see what he'd heard. He said only a few other people saw the broadcast. The guys in charge are in deep water.
Okay.
As to whether or not the situation,
You will
whatever
stay away
it
from
was
trouble.
real.
Yes, let's keep this
Seems
between
no one's
us.
talking.
Round 1. Fight.
But he says our park has an emergency meeting at night. We've all been advised to keep an eye out for any unusual activity. They haven't specified what the activity might be. I doubt that we'll ever learn anything one way or the other. I think I'll keep my blinds closed at night for now.
Crawl back to the gutter. Round 2. Fight.
That's not hysterical.
Good one!
Final round. Fight.
Well, that wasn't some old Bruce Lee shit.
Finish her. Kill her.
I was trying to get the brutality, but I couldn't.
Liu Kang.
I landed the headshot too late, like too early, I should say. And that's it for the stream for the week. But not be playing this for a minute and go do something else. Cause that's what I do every Sunday. Hang out on Twitch. Until next time, my pie cheers.